me?
Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Good morning, Vietnam! I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I feel the need for speed.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
Love means never having to say you're sorry.
You do. You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
What's up, film fans? You are listening to a new episode 227 of the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Juan. I am joined by the cast, the crew, the Starfleet. Craig?
What up?
Zach?
Con.
Quinto? Zach Quinto?
Yeah, there you go.
How's everybody doing? You got a good weekend? Planned ahead,
Pretty
Craig?
weekend.
It was a chill weekend.
Chill weekend.
Went and saw Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, we'll get into recent watches. Turtles was good. Zach, you also went and saw something else later. We'll get into that. Man, this is already the second episode of August, and then we look up and there's only just 3 more left.
Yeah,
3 more left. We're into September.
You two got kids about to start going back to school this week or next week.
YouTube Kids? I don't have it.
YouTube
I just have regular
Kids.
YouTube. I just have regular YouTube.
Yeah, mine starts tomorrow.
Kids. Yeah, kids
The
started
kids.
school. Mine started last week.
Really, that early?
Yeah, July 31st or August 1st. One of those two. Yeah.
Wow.
They can't fucking wait to get them back into school, huh?
It seems like every year it gets earlier and earlier. I swear it does.
Next year will be June 2nd.
June 2nd. They get a month off.
The best part about it is college football is right around the corner.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's going to be different. Craig, I was just talking about it earlier. Like, I looked up and it's like all these teams are going to different conferences. In a few years, it'll probably be like the NFL, just one big conference on this end, one big conference on that end. That'll be it.
They've talked about 2 major conferences for a while. So
So does this? I think at the end of the day, this just hurts the smaller schools, doesn't it?
it eliminates how they put it was the have and the have-nots.
Because like Appalachian State wouldn't get a payday to play Michigan anymore. You know?
Right, because there's going to be too many schools in your own conference, and there's going to be it's going to get to where teams are just going to schedule whomever they want in the first couple games in a Power 3, Power 4 conference or whatever, and then you move on to the playoff.
Because essentially a 3-loss team
Can still get into the playoff.
can still get in. Yeah. So,
You just want to be the best prepared you can be.
man, I look back last week. I almost want to say I forgot about what we talked about last week. But last week we talked about
I don't know. What did we talk about last week? Oh, Battle Royale. Battle Royale.
it wasn't that bad of a movie.
No, it's just you've already moved on. Damn.
But if you guys want to go back and listen to that episode wherever you listen to podcasts at, you can. You can get all of our links on the social media, facebook.com/the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. The Instagram is all one word / the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. X is at Cinemen405. And then the email bag, email us at cinemen921@gmail.com.
Formerly known as Twitter X.
Twitter X Twitter. That's so weird.
It is.
Well, I guess when you have $1 billion, you can do. I guess you can take a whole social media and do what you do with what you want with it.
But Battle Royale was a fun conversation. It was a fun breakdown of the scenes and the kills. You can watch that movie pretty much on anywhere you stream movies for free. Vudu, Freeview, Crackle. I think it's on Crackle. But what we're talking about today, Star Trek Into Darkness, it's on Paramount Plus, right?
Yes, and on Netflix.
Really?
Yeah, that's how I watched it.
Weird. You don't own these, Zach? What's the matter with you?
A lot of things, but Star Trek's not at the top of the list.
Speaking of some things that you've watched and you haven't watched, let's talk some recent watches. Anything you've recently checked out or want to recommend anybody?
Yeah. just trying to get caught up on some of the movies. Went and saw Barbie. I'm sorry, $1 billion Barbie. Give it the respect it deserves. Insidious: The Red Door. Talk to Me. While you guys went and saw. Yeah, I thought it was a very unique horror film, and it's already been greenlit for a sequel. So, and we'll probably get that probably sometime next year. While you guys went and saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I was on the opposite side of the theater watching The Meg, To the Trench, and arguably the worst movie of the year by far. So bad. And
I could have told you that.
Well, listen, I rewatched that first one, and it's still a fun B creature feature type film. This one is not. I saw it for free, and I want my money back.
But it's got Jason Statham in it. It's a shark popcorn movie. What else could you expect?
Well, the whole concept of him fighting a shark, that's like 15 minutes of the 2-hour movie. At least with the first one, it's like a lot more than that. And then next week's episode, Knock at the Cabin, and went and saw Oppenheimer again, 70mm. And woo, genius Christopher Nolan. Just say it right there.
Let me ask you, this is the second time you've watched it. Did it feel like a 3-hour movie the second time?
In parts, a little bit. I'll admit to it. It made a lot more sense the second time around. I think with a lot of his movies, it just that's just the rule of Nolan movies. I actually enjoyed the trial scenes a lot more this time around. Now that I kind of figured out what was going on and who was who and everything. So yeah, definitely. If you haven't got a chance to see it, go check out that. Barbie was real fun. It's shocking. 13 days into its release, it's already $1 billion film. So
I'm gonna beat you off. Nobody beaches me off.
That too. What about you, Fred?
So next week's view of Knock at the Cabin, was that your first time view?
No, I saw it in the theater, so it was my second time.
Okay. I watched it not too long ago.
It'll be an interesting conversation.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. As far as recent watches for me, Ninja Turtles.
Heard good things about it.
Yeah, it was.
It made you want pizza.
It was very Seth Rogen. Very
really?
Seth Rogen. You could tell there was a lot of influence from his. I guess if you were to perceive what Seth Rogen would come up with for a Ninja Turtle film, the art style and everything makes a lot of sense. But
it was good though. The story arc and the characters was like very 90-ish TV show.
Yeah, it fell in line pretty well. Superfly came out like a badass. It was a good villain for an initial, I guess, rendition franchise, however they want to.
Yeah, almost like a prequel to what everybody realizes and what everybody thinks of the Turtles movies are, or the TV show.
Oh,
like,
was that a spoiler?
No, like it kind of like sets you up for, the bigger, badder villains coming up in the next few movies.
Yeah, I didn't like Master Splinter. I didn't like the voice character for it. The direction of that.
You didn't like Jackie Chan?
It did not sound like Jackie Chan. I'll tell you that.
Jackie Chan was the rat.
I'll tell you, it did not sound like that.
Wow.
It sounded like. I don't know. I'm not going to say what it sounded like, but it did not sound like Jackie Chan.
That was one of the most things I was like super, super excited to go see it for, was Jackie Chan voicing Splinter.
And maybe it was the way the rat looked, Master Splinter. I'm sorry, I don't want to offend people. It's the rat. Oh, that. Speaking of, that was funny. The little reference where they're like, "Oh man, you ratted me out." He's like, "We don't use that language here."
Oh yeah,
yeah. It was funny.
It
was a good watch. Adley loved it. She their first fight scene, she was like, "Wait, is this why they're called ninjas?" And I was like, "Yes, they're ninjas. They're sneaky and they fight."
Is it better than the Is it better than the Michael Bay produced movies that came out with Megan Fox?
Yes.
Couldn't tell you. I never watched it.
Yeah.
All right.
It made you want to go back and, like I said, revisit the this animated show and the 90s movies. So it's just like very throwback-ish.
It did. It made me want to play the old NES Ninja Turtle games. But just for some reason, it was very. Even though I'm not a huge Ninja Turtles fan, I mean, I grew up. I watched it a little bit here and there, but it wasn't like, oh, I had the T-shirts and the figures or anything.
Yeah.
Like that. But it definitely
It was
made me
nostalgic.
want to. It was nostalgic, and it was a good vibe film.
I'll rapid fire through mine. If you guys want to stop me, you can. I watched all 4 Lethal Weapon movies. Fantastic Mr. Fox for the first time. Pee-wee's Big Adventure. The new that was pretty good actually. The new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. Beetlejuice, Texas Chainsaw, Sound of Metal for the first time, and Triangle of Sadness. Sound of Metal, wow. That's the first time I've ever seen that movie. It's
a good movie.
It's so good, yeah. Triangle of Sadness was weird. Have you seen it, Zach?
No, I just know it was nominated for Best Picture. I was like, why is this nominated for Best Picture? And
So I had to go out and get it. I had to go out and find it and watch it since it was nominated. And it's 3 hours long, but it's weird, but it's funny, and it almost feels like an A24 movie.
Sound of Metal. I remember it fucked with me so bad with the sound design of the film because he's going to. I really thought like I was going deaf. That's how good it was.
After I watched The Sound of Metal, I had to sit down and think about like how blessed I am to have all my senses, because this guy was just, in the matter of just the whole movie, went from having the time of his life to struggling to almost being homeless, and it was a phenomenal movie. I can't believe it took me that long to find it and watch it. Wreck-It Ralph and Star Trek Into Darkness for today's episode. Oh, and then the original TMNT and Blowout and Zombieland.
Anything else?
Zombieland.
If I had to recommend anything, go Sound of Metal's on Amazon, right? It's an Amazon original film.
Yeah.
I need to watch that. It just looked good. It looked unique. It gave me not direct Whiplash vibes, but the whole like style of the way the music is portrayed in the film. It gave me that.
It hit me. It touched me so much that I was like, man, I'd like to sit down and have a conversation about this one day.
Yeah, and I saw you picked up the Criterion too. I was like, "Whoa, all right."
Yeah, it looks nice. Other than that, if I had to recommend anything, like go to a movie theater and check out, TMNT. It's a really good movie. Go to Amazon, check out Sound of Metal, and then Triangle of Sadness is on Hulu. If you don't want to physical media it up, go check it out on Hulu.
So you didn't get the popcorn bucket?
I did not.
Did they have them available?
AMC did, yeah. The one I went to, yeah.
So I mean,
they also had the Turtles like pins
for charity.
Yeah.
I got all 4 of those. They suckered me in.
I didn't know they were for charity, so I just grabbed all 4 of them and took them with me. I didn't know you had to pay for them.
You're lying.
No, I'm just messing with you.
No, so I mean, it was just the whole thing. I mean, a drink and popcorn is like $15-$16 anyway, and I was like, you get the 10 and the cup and a little mask. I mean, she wore the mask through the movie, and
I wanted the mask. I didn't know you could have got the mask. Man, that makes me want to go back. But if you had to recommend anything, those are the 3 movies I would recommend. Zach, what would you recommend? Would you just recommend people go to the movies and check out Oppenheimer again?
Yeah, go check out Oppenheimer. Go check out Barbie.
Barbie
go check out Talk to Me. Yeah. It was so, like, I was talking about it with a coworker the other day, and it makes fun of, like, women's rights, but also has a good moral message to it. It was a really good balance of the two.
I was upset there was only like 4 people in the Talk to Me theater.
Yeah, I had a packed theater.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Did you go at an evening?
No, it was like at 2:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah, that's the biggest A24 opening since Hereditary.
Raphael, bro.
You should keep that on for the whole episode.
No. Yeah,
Was the popcorn bucket? Was it? It was metal, wasn't it?
Yeah, I brought it as well. Does metal had a little NYC
Pothole
Yeah, hold on.
Oh, nice.
cover.
My room is messy, but I will.
Little Newport City.
I'll get it fixed, and I'll show y'all here in a second.
While Craig does that, guys, it is time for the top 5. This was top 5. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
Sorry. So the lid topper, little NYC kind of sewer cover, the manhole cover. That's the lid. Then the outside got the little graffiti.
That's nice.
TNT.
That's a nicer popcorn bucket than the Mission Impossible bucket I got. And I didn't even go see Mission Impossible.
And then they're in the inside.
Nice.
Which I told Mallory, I was like, I wish this would have been on the outside because I like seeing the turtles. But then she was like, well, they're in the sewers. It's in the sewer, so it made sense. And it's a very good design. As soon as I saw it, I was like, I gotta get it.
Daddy, I did not like this shit.
Umbrella inside.
She said she didn't like this shit.
No, she didn't like the show. Say hi.
Hi,
everybody.
Hi, Adley.
Okay, go in there.
Why is he just speaking?
Why are you just sitting there, Zach? Go in there, shut the door.
No. His screen's frozen. Zach's frozen.
She was like, "Why are you just sitting there?"
Is he? Creepy. Is he frozen?
He's got to be frozen.
Oh,
but yeah, no, the and the drink, it came with a little cup and a little Ninja Turtle topper, so could have got all 4, but
did you go see Oppenheimer yet?
No, I did not.
Daddy, look at the door.
While Zach's having some technical difficulties, I'll explain the top 5. We almost weren't going to do a top 5 this week, but I was sitting there thinking about the lore of the Star Trek animated or Star Trek TV show, and I think it only had like 3 or 4 seasons, and then it got just blasted.
Yeah.
Into popularity with the original motion picture in the 70s. So it was like, it'd be pretty fun to name our top 5 favorite TV shows that deserve a movie spinoff.
Right.
So while we wait for Zach to pop back in,
you want to go ahead and start off with your number 5?
Yeah, I can start off with my number 5. My number 5 is going to be Friends. Just because of the way the whole series ended, like leading up to the final episode, you knew they were all going their separate ways, and things weren't going to be the same again, and you knew that was the end. But for some way, it still led off into a Joey spinoff. And I'm like, man, all that time, effort, money, why not just make like and they ended up doing a reunion show, but it's not the same. It was one of those, them sitting around a coffee table having a conversation. Like, why not, instead of doing the Joey spinoff, just do a movie, put them up on the big screen. I mean, for goodness sake, they did that with Sex and the City 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And Jennifer Aniston at that time, when the whole thing was over, she was already so popular with movies. Courtney Cox, like, I don't know. I think that would have done and been like a really funny movie if they did one final movie of just the entire cast of Friends. I don't know, but that's my number 5. Craig, what about you?
My number 5 is going to be, it's a mixture of cartoons and everything for me. I mean, I don't really watch a lot of live series TV, but the regular show, Cartoon Network. I just think it was a very unique, kind of witty comedy between 2 best friends that are always getting into trouble. A lot of memorable characters on the show. And I just think, having one kind of giant adventure with those 2 would have been Would have been pretty funny.
Regular show, huh?
Called The Regular Show. Are you looking it up?
No.
Oh,
So Zach's internet went out, so we'll just keep on going until he decides to come back.
just got to keep on keeping on, man.
Keep on keeping on. My number 4 is going to be Sons of Anarchy. It was only like 6 seasons, and like I can imagine it being a pretty kick-ass movie, especially nowadays with the way FX and they do their FX and Hulu original movies. Like I don't know if you've ever seen Sons of Anarchy, but it was real simple, solid. It felt like a long movie, but
Yeah.
the ending kind of just left you a little open. I'm like, man, it's again another to me series that would make a fun, kind of like an action-packed movie. So number 4 for me would be Sons of Anarchy. What about 4 for you?
Number 4 for me is going to be, I know, kind of like your friend's description. They did a little spinoff, Boy Meets World. I think a Boy Meets World movie kind of a little sooner to the end of the actual TV series would have been fantastic. Back when they were all kind of in their prime and really fit the roles that they were in. And instead of, wasn't it Girl Meets World that they changed it to?
Yeah.
If they would have just kept it Boy Meets World, kept all the same cast, and just kind of made it a little bit bigger of a movie, I think that would have been fun.
I'll talk with you about that because that's my number 3. Number 3 is Boy Meets World, and I think especially right when it ended, it was so popular, and Disney Channel original movies had just started coming out around that time. Like, if you don't want to put it up on the big screen, like make it a Disney Channel original movie. I think it ended with the hint of Topanga might be pregnant. I know in the last season they had just got married. Eric had adopted or found out he had a son. So everything was becoming more family for everybody. You kind of got like you didn't get really like a true ending for Sean other than him meeting with his girlfriend. But yeah, that would be number 3 for me, would be Boy Meets World. What about 2 for you?
Number 3 for me.
3. That was my 3.
Number 3 for me is going to be The Twilight Zone. They came back and did the Key and Peele series on CBS.
Yeah.
CBS. Those were good. They were unique. They were, Key and Peele put his vision in them the same way he did with all of his stuff. But having a full hour and a half, 2-hour Twilight Zone movie would have been, which they might have already done it, but I think one with Jordan Peele would be pretty interesting. Allow him to just do one giant vision for a thought for a film.
I know, yeah, those were some pretty good episodes. Especially, I think they only had Jordan Peele only did like 2 seasons.
Yeah, 2 seasons of like 7 or 8.
Yeah, those were pretty good too. But now I guess they're on what? Are they on Paramount Plus?
Probably. If it's CBS, it'd be CBS.
Number 2 for me, just because I didn't like the way it ended. Again, it's another sitcom, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It ended so hot, and it ended with Will Smith at his highest popularity. I mean, they did a reboot series on Peacock. I guess it was okay. Never watched it. Never interested me. But I just, I think a Fresh Prince movie, to where it's a comedy movie, of course, but you add a few drama elements like the actual series actually did.
Yeah,
I think it would have been pretty funny, especially with all the cameos that he could have brought in. I don't know. Fresh Prince to me was just a TV show that just screamed one giant comedy movie, and I think it would have been. I think people would have went and saw it. I think if Will Smith put one together today, a Fresh Prince movie, people would go see it.
Yeah, no, when you think about it, those, even though they might have not have originally aired on Nickelodeon, those shows that were on Nick at Night were just fantastic. I mean, even as a kid, you would think that you were sitting there and it's like, oh, all I want to do is play video games or watch cartoons. It's like when Fresh Prince came on, when I know it's going to sound a little weird, but all of these were just great. Fresh Prince, the George Lopez show, Full House, like all of those were just
Home Improvement,
extremely well done shows. And that's something that you don't get a lot of, if at all, anymore. Is just, I'm not going to say wholesome, because I'm sure there was a lot of jokes that went over my head at the time and I just haven't gone back to see them. But they were, anyone could watch them and enjoy them. It's not like you had to be a science nerd for this portion of The Big Bang Theory, or be any type of, like, it just fit every audience, and that's what those 90s sitcoms, 80s sitcoms did. It was fantastic.
Family Matters, Full House, man.
Yeah. They all had good messages in them. Like, you go back and look at some of the clips that people share, and it's like, why don't we have shows like this anymore? I don't know. But my number 2 is, again, it's cartoon. It was and is extremely popular. I still think there's a small audience who really gravitate toward it.
Is this the Buzz Light series?
Oh, no. I mean, technically, Lightyear's already had his movie, but
that's true.
Samurai Jack.
I haven't heard that name in a long time.
Samurai Jack. I can't tell you like the premise of it. It's been so long since I've seen it, but just the characters, the action in the movie or the show, the evil guy, Aku, I think is his name, is. I think that would have been a fantastic, if they were to, especially today with the way people draw anime and everything. I think that would be a fantastic film in today's day and age.
Number 1 for me is going to be The Sopranos. They had the prequel TV show, or the movie that came out a few years ago. I think it came out on HBO Max as well. But yeah, I think The Sopranos was. But I mean, technically, that last season was more of a movie than anything. So technically, you kind of got your movie at the end. But number 1 for me would be Sopranos. So, Craig, before you reveal your number 1, Zach, do you want to just rapid fire and go through your 5?
Yeah, I gotta find a new internet provider. Number 5 would be Dexter. Number 4, Stranger Things. Even though I know we still have one more season to go, I think
still continuing, Zach.
I know. Hannibal, the NBC show with Mads Mikkelsen, I thought was really, really good. It kind of ended on a bleh type feel, and it really benefit from a movie. Game of Thrones, even though I think there's a lot of good in the final season of Game of Thrones, it probably would have been better as a 3-hour movie or something. And then my number 1 would be Chuck, the NBC Zachary Levi show. Really, really fun show. And they've been talking about doing a movie it had a good series finale, but I just thought that it would benefit from a movie, and they've been talking about it for the last 10 years since it went off the air. So that'd be my number 1.
Again, I'll go through my 5: Friends, Sons of Anarchy, Boy Meets World, Fresh Prince, Sopranos, and then Craig was just about to reveal his number 1.
My top 5 was, what was my number 5? I completely forgot.
It was regular show.
The regular show from Cartoon Network. Zach, I don't know if you've ever seen it. Regular show.
Is that the one with the bird?
Yeah, the bird and the raccoon.
Yeah.
So regular show, Boy Meets World, Samurai Jack, and then regular show, World, Samurai Jack. I'm missing one in there. Oh well. My number 1, Johnny. I think I tried to put you on it. I don't know if you enjoyed it. Workaholics.
Oh, Workaholics.
Workaholics. I mean, it was pre/mid Adam Devine when he's really starting to hit off on Pitch Perfect. I mean, now he's doing comedy tours and kind of filling in on other stuff. Not really up to date with his acting, but I just saw him in something recently, actually. But
He was in that Pitch Perfect spinoff.
Yeah, bumpers, whatever. But just and I'm not I don't take drugs. I'm not a big drug guy. I don't smoke. I don't do any of that stuff. But the concept of what they did and all the troubles they went through, 3 guys working at some small time office in a cubicle, just the jokes were on par for me. Everything, the comedy is right down my alley. And I think the 3 of them worked really well together. So Workaholics is my number 1.
It's funny you mentioned Samurai Jack. I feel like they've been trying to do like a live action version of that for like forever.
Even if it wasn't a live action, if you put out a decent anime,
Mm-hmm.
Dragon Ball Z in the theater sells.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I mean, I don't know how big of an audience there still would be for it, but I know the people that really enjoy it, like really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Getting into today's episode, if you guys want to name your top 5 TV shows that deserve a movie send-off, email us and let us know. We'll get back into the email bag next week. Next week's top 5, I'll go ahead and announce it today. Next week's top 5, we are talking our top 5 movies starring a WWE guy.
Seth Rollins?
Any of them, doesn't matter. It could be the Condemned, it could be the Marine, it could be all 30 of the Rock's movies. It doesn't matter. Name your top 5 movies that have a WWE guy in them. So,
what was the one where
it could be the Chaperone with Triple H.
No, not the Chaperone. The one with John Cena where he's a dad and all the kids are going around doing stuff and he shows up.
Oh,
is it Playing with Fire? Is that one?
No, is it Blockers?
Oh, Blockers, yeah.
Yeah. That one was like, I was like, there's no way I'm gonna like this movie. And it was actually funny.
He does the chugging the beer up the asshole skit.
Yes. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yep. I didn't know they just called it Blockers. I thought it was the whole thing.
What do you mean? What whole thing?
The chicken in front, so I figured.
Oh, KFC Blockers?
Yeah, KFC Blockers.
KFC Blockers.
Peacock Blockers?
That one. That's
today we're talking about Star Trek Into Darkness. IMDb has it at 7.7, Rotten Tomatoes at 84%, the Metascore is at 72%. The Google users like it at 77%. With a budget of $185 million, it grossed a little over $467 million at the box office, with a release date of May 16th, 2013. After the crew of the Enterprise find an unstoppable force of terror from within their own organization, Captain Kirk leads a manhunt to a war zone world to capture a one-man weapon of mass destruction. Starring Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, Zoe Saldana, Benedict Cumberbatch, Leonard Nimoy, Carl Urban, Simon Pegg, John Chow, Anton Yelchin, Bruce Greenwood, Mr. Peter Weller, directed by J.J. Abrams. So the last time we were on the Enterprise, guys, last month we talked the 2009 version of Star Trek. Me and Zach, we had a fun episode. Go back and check it out. This one, a little bit different. To me, this one is, I didn't check this one out in the theaters, but I did watch it as soon as it came out to own. First time, to me, this was kind of the weaker of the first two. The first time I watched it, but after today, I was a bit surprised and I enjoyed it just as much as the first one. Zach, what about you?
Yeah, I did see this in the theater. It's kind of the same thing with me. Seeing these Star Trek movies, I know I went and saw them, but just my memories of them are a little blurry. I do know that this was like, and people that listen to us in Oklahoma, this was the last movie I saw at the war, and then the next week was the massive tornado that ripped through Moore and hit the elementary school and everything. I remember liking it. I thought it was a slight improvement of the first movie. On this rewatch, though, I had an absolute blast with it. Like I I was just kind of shocked at how good it was and how much I enjoyed it. So, what about you, Craig?
Yeah, I just remembered like when these started coming out, I was like, man, Star Trek's really got they got their formula down.
Mm-hmm.
After watching it, and this was kind of my entry into Benedict Cumberbatch. I just knew he was in this movie. I thought it was really stiff at the beginning of this one, but then the more the movie went on, I was like, okay, that's kind of just his character. And when he starts breaking down, talking about his crew and that's his family, and I was like, man, he delivered a performance, and I just really enjoy the score, the cast, the chemistry. I think the casts that they've got for these films was a home run.
Top notch.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of, what do you guys think? I mean, this was your first introduction to the character con. It's a kind of a touchy subject when you're talking to original Star Trek fans, because this was really their only famous big bad guy, unless you're looking at other Klingons. But like Khan in the original motion picture was like a scary type of villain. Did he pose a real big threat to you guys watching this movie?
Yeah, and Craig,
he's not even really the main villain either.
That's true. But Craig, jumping off what you said about Benedict Cumberbatch, it's like I think all of us would probably agree that's the first time we've actually seen him probably in a film or noticed like who he is. But 10 years, this film's celebrating 10 years actually this year, and in retrospect, now that we know who Benedict Cumberbatch is and the type of movies and the characters he can play, he's perfect. Yeah, he's perfect as Khan. It makes perfect sense to cast him in as that character.
Yeah, and they did it before he got there, and it could be a thing where this kind of molded him to be that way, or if he just really, he molded Khan to be him, and that's just what he came to be. But I just
Red Planet opening. At the end of the first one, they kind of give you the hint of, these guys are about to go on some adventures. They're about to go on some stories. Yeah. So I really like how this one opens up with an adventure, just a little side mission of the Red Planet. Yeah. What do you guys think?
It's a very memorable opening scene. It's one, it doesn't go by the wayside. When you think of the Star Trek movies, you're like, okay, it to me, it's like, oh, is this the one that starts on the Red Planet? It's just very eye-popping, memorable. The characters, the people that inhabit that planet. It's what you want in the opening scene. It's just very memorable. Yeah,
and even the volcano sequence where like Spock's in the middle of it and they got to try to rescue him, and just the vision. I'd say the visuals in this one are much more slicker, if that makes sense, than the first one. They look more polished and they look more. They put more time into it, I guess I would say. The 2009 Star Trek looks really good, but this one feels more organic and more defined. There's more depth to it, I guess I would say.
And I like how in this one they jump right to it, because if I'm not mistaken, I didn't get to rewatch the first one. If I'm not mistaken, that's when they learned how to beam from out of sight, right? From like a distance.
Yes. Yeah.
Because like before, you could only beam within sight, but now it's like you just had to be in a certain range. And I like how they come and use that immediately. Like, of course, you can't. There's no sight because of all the smoke from the volcano, and they know to utilize that right off the bat and put that in the film.
And that's what I like about like J.J. Abrams' just franchise in general of this story is just. He pays so much respect to the older stuff, the movies and the TV show, but he's not afraid to put his little touch on whether it's the story, the cast.
And that's what I was going to bring up. I was going to talk about J.J. Abrams for a second because he's very much like a fixer of franchises. He first did it with Mission Impossible 3, Star Trek, and Star Wars. In my opinion, I felt like when he did 2009 Star Trek, that was very much like a paying respect to what came before and kind of like you said, putting his own spin on it and just paying homage to the original series.
Just kind of building
This
a
one,
foundation while doing it.
yeah. Well, Into Darkness, I feel like this is what he did with Force Awakens, where we're just going to take this in a whole new direction and just create. I know Khan is from Wrath of Khan or whatever. It's been done before,
Yeah.
but this feels a lot more fresh and organic than I haven't seen Wrath of Khan, so I can't say. Johnny, you watched it. Is it? I've heard the complaints about this movie. Is I've heard like the second act of this film is essentially Wrath of Khan in reverse or 360 or whatever.
Correct, but like I said a few weeks ago when we did the original episode, like Wrath of Khan, it might have been good like in its time. The rewatching of it today is completely bore fest to me, and it was like, I don't know, I mean, you got to respect it, but it's not going to be anybody's cup of tea 40 some odd years later. Especially with how dry the act. Craig, you mentioned it about Benedict Cumberbatch being dry at the beginning of the movie. Well, that's how Khan is in the original, throughout the entire film. So, like I said, if you guys want to give Wrath of Khan a shot, it's on Paramount Plus. That's the only one I would recommend of watching from the original motion picture. That and The Voyage Home. The Voyage Home is actually kind of funny because it shows Spock and Kirk on today's Earth or 1985's Earth. So there's a scene where like Spock and Kirk are on the bus, and there's like a dude with a boom box listening to music, and Spock's like, "What the hell is he listening to?" It's funny shit. But,
is Khan threatening and Wrath of Khan is compared to Benedict Cumberbatch in this one?
He's dry, but he's take no names kind of guy. So, he just like this one, he starts off with doing some damage. And I was going to ask you guys the Khan intro in this. Of course, they call him something else for the first hour. It's Jonathan something, right?
John Harrison.
John Harrison. So, even going into this movie, the very first time the audience saw it, you heard rumblings, but you didn't know he was Khan. Right. I think even cast name, he was John. What did you guys think of the suicide mission? How Khan is like, I can help your daughter, and the guy lets him help his daughter. Then he goes and does like a suicide mission for Khan. It's pretty dark stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're just trying to set the balance. Not set the balance, but set the idea that this guy is a rogue agent, I guess at this point, is what you would call him. He's not really, it doesn't matter what he has to do. He takes people's weaknesses and uses it against them to get what he wants to be done. And I like how they were able to have him kind of steps ahead of everything. Everything was already kind of planned out.
And I thought this movie was going to kind of drag just a little bit because I think it's like 15 minutes longer than the first one.
Yeah.
But like after you have the suicide mission, you get introduced to Marcus, played by Peter Weller, which is the original RoboCop. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but he was RoboCop back in the day. And then you have the headquarters attack, which that scene is tremendous. Pike's death. I think in order to take Khan serious, I think one of the main characters from the first movie had to die. But you can't, of course, do away with any of the crew members. Yeah, so I think picking Pike to die was a well-worthy expense. What do you guys think?
I feel like it was appropriate. I feel like he was big enough to have an impact of it, especially since he was Kirk's captain and kind of mentor into getting him into the academy and everything. So there's that relationship. You didn't want the heartfelt, and everything, but it didn't take away from what the remaining story could produce.
Yeah. And I thought that even the death sequence itself was actually very emotionally driven. The fact that kind of Spock kind of just cradles him for a little bit and kind of sees what he sees as he's dying. And then Kirk on the other side of the room kind of just figuring out what's going on as he's trying to take out John Harrison in the ship. it's a really well action set piece. And considering really there's not, I'd say there's not as much action in the first movie, but the more I think about it, it's more spread
out. Yeah.
than the first movie. So
I like how they have real life situations and thoughts and moments as far as Scotty wanting to quit, and he doesn't believe that the Enterprise should be like a military driven force. He was like, we're explorers, we're in this for science, exploration. I like that, but I didn't like how they used that for Simon Pegg. Kind of got a little less screen time than I wanted him to.
Yeah, I agree.
Simon Pegg is one of joys as far as this franchise goes.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of gave light to Anton Yelchin and his character, and was able to put him in a bit of a spotlight. And it took one of the quote unquote main characters. I do consider Simon to be one of the main in the film due to what he does on the ship. Kind of takes them out to where they can cause the issues for the ship and create a storyline. So,
and I like how another a new character to this is Carol Marcus, played by Alice Eve, who's Admiral Marcus's daughter.
Yep.
She's the science person on the ship, and Spock's like, no. I like how they
he gets jealous real quick.
She's kind of like a wedge between Kirk and Spock, and it's like, no, that's my job. Like, why would you bring her on the ship?
Yeah,
And then they even place it real funny, like how she sits in between them.
Yeah.
We talked about this in the first movie, but now that Craig's here, let's talk a little bit more about it as far as, again, new movie, same characters. Zach, did you have any feelings on Zachary Quinto as Spock, or did you just end up liking him even more? Again, that's, original Trekkies, they have a problem with Zachary Quinto.
Yeah, I actually think that Chris Pine's performance in this one is stronger than the first one.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when they actually bring Khan aboard the Enterprise, and he kind of confronts him and says, look, the only reason you're not dead is because of me. Now shut your mouth. I think that was just a really good casting on Chris Pine's part, but it's also the performance of Benedict Cumberbatch. So it's like a good yin and yang to the two. Zachary Quinto was still. I think everyone's performance is like upgraded in this film, to be honest, because maybe it's Benedict Cumberbatch, maybe it's the subject material, maybe it's J.J. Abrams' direction, whatever it is. It just feels more. I don't know if the word is Trekkie, I guess is the right word I'm trying to use, but it feels more organic than it did in the first film. Everyone, I think in the first film, everyone's just trying to figure out who their character is and not really rely
cross any boundaries.
Cross any boundaries and rely on what came before. So
yeah.
What about you, Craig? Not being a old-fashioned Star Trek fan, Leonard Nimoy probably doesn't really mean much. What'd you think of Spock and Captain Kirk in this movie? Are they some of your favorite characters? Do you enjoy watching them in this one?
Yeah, I think Chris Pine was an excellent choice for Kirk. I liked Sulu. Zachary Quinto, I don't know if it's him as Spock or if it's the character Spock. There were parts that was like, but then overall, I think he was able to be very emotionless. And that's people think it's hard to be show emotion. Try being emotionless. You can't show anything. The slightest eyebrow raise for a character like that is something that audiences are going to say, okay, he's hiding something, because they're not expecting you to show any emotion. So you have to really control it. You have to really make sure that you're not doing anything out of the ordinary for that character. So I think in that aspect, I think he did a very good job.
So approaching the Klingons, you get the scene where Zoe Saldana shows up, and she speaks Klingon, and first off, the Klingons in this movie looked amazing. I don't know what you guys thought about it.
Better than the previous.
And then you get the easy surrender from Khan, but this is where you find out what he really is and who he really is. And Zach, you said the second part of this movie is pretty much Wrath of Khan in reverse, and that's what I have down on my notes. Is the roles are reversed from the Wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
So pretty much in the Wrath of Khan, Spock sacrifices himself in the radiation, and he dies to save the Enterprise and to capture Khan. But at this one, it's the opposite. You get the scene where Jim goes and sacrifices himself. Jim ends up dying, and that's where you get the famous Spock. Spock yells Khan. Who does it better though? Do you prefer the original William Shatner's Khan scream, or Zachary Quinto?
I mean, I haven't really seen William Shatner do it, so I'm gonna go with Quinto on this one. So
you have homework, Zach.
Yeah,
Zach, that's what you're doing tonight when you get off this podcast.
I don't know, dude. I don't know if I can sit through that.
You got to watch at least the first 30 minutes and tell me what it is.
It couldn't be worse than watching the old Dune.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But yeah, the roles reversed. Jim dies. What do you think of that ending shipwreck scene though, where the ship crashes down in future San Francisco?
Yeah. It's funny that you say that because yeah, it's funny that you say that. That was the year of Man of Steel, and it was like all the destruction porn, like in every movie. But like you said, it still looks good to this day. It looks very, if a giant Starfleet ship was going to crash into San Francisco, that's as close as we're going to get to that.
There's some movies that come out today where the CGI doesn't even look that good.
Marvel.
Yeah, the Meg. But anyway, I really like. The funny thing is like I remember seeing this in a theater, and when John Harrison when Benedict Cumberbatch says, "I am Khan," I felt like, I guess because I'm not a Trek fan, I was missing like the awesomeness of like that reveal. But like,
that's the key line of the whole movie.
Yeah, I mean, but it doesn't really matter because like Benedict Cumberbatch's performance is so strong that I was just like, okay, so this is an adversary that you don't want to mess with at this point.
Yeah. I thought the Spock chase scene where he's chasing Khan once he gets beamed down to Earth was a fantastic chase scene. And then you get the
really
ending
good fight sequence.
Yeah, the ending fight between Khan and Spock.
I kind of thought in retrospect that it's a good it tugs at the not tugs at the strings. It's a good string to wrap everything up of Khan saving the girl because his blood has healing powers at the beginning. I didn't really put two and two together, so I was just like, oh, so that's how they saved Kirk at the end of the film, and that's how And the crazy thing is like I feel like they essentially don't kill Khan, and they like hyper freeze him with all his other torpedo family members.
They do the whole thing like how in Superman, that's how they trap Zod, General Zod.
Yeah.
In the original Superman.
And I feel like if there's ever going to be a fourth one, which we'll talk about that when we get to Beyond, they could bring Khan back if they wanted to. It's just kind of like we'll keep him on the side in case we ever need him again.
Which I'm surprised. I know you said we'll talk about it on Beyond, but you look at it, 2009, 2013, 2016, and it's just like all these made so much money. Why was there not another movie just a few years later?
I know what the big thing was that they were going to try and bring Chris Hemsworth back in the fourth one as Kirk's dad. I know that was like the big thing going into it.
I mean, could it have been that by the time this one Beyond came out, JJ was thought to be pretty deep in Star Wars, and he didn't want to.
Well, JJ didn't even direct Beyond.
No.
So
who did Beyond?
Justin Lin, who did like the
Fast and Furious.
Yeah,
That's
4 through
why.
6. Yeah. But still, beyond made $343 million. I mean, it still was successful.
You don't need Starfleet when you got family.
Yeah.
That
That came out yesterday, Zach. Did you go pick it up yet?
No, I'm good. I saw it in the theater. I'm good.
I'll watch it this week and I'll talk to you about it next week.
I mean, Craig, I know you weren't on the first Star Trek. Not seeing the first one, did you enjoy this one a little bit more or a little bit less if you had watched the original, the 2009 one again?
For me, when I watched this one was always '09 was good, but this one was like kind of it raised the bar a little bit. It just watched better. Now, like I said, I haven't watched '09 in quite some time, but
you should go back and watch it tonight.
Into Darkness was the one that I always gravitated to when I was like, Star Trek is good. When somebody was like, "Oh, I've never seen Star Trek. I don't want to watch Star Trek," I was like, "Into Darkness was good." So,
and you can watch Into Darkness and not even have to worry about watching the first one.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, you may not have some backdrop or backstory on some characters, but you can still watch it.
So did you guys like the ending about Khan didn't really have a fate at the end? They kind of just hyper froze him, save him for later, or did you want a true ending? You got a good ending no matter what. But
I mean, it was a good ending. I just wanted him to get the beat the hell out of him by Spock, which I mean, it does happen, but I mean, God, it's just that deserved a good death by the end of it, essentially.
And then you got oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, you kind of said it earlier, Zach. It might have been Johnny. Khan's not really the main villain in this film.
Right.
So the fact that they don't kill Khan would insinuate that they had plans to move on with him in the future, and they just never got to that point. So you still got the main villain killed.
Marcus died, yeah.
But at the same time, you got a nice bow ending for Khan, but that bow could also be unwrapped in the future if they needed it to.
Yeah,
it's like we put him to bed, he's done, but he could still come back because he's not dead because he wasn't the main villain.
Do you think that what do you guys think about some future? What is it? Future booking, as you guys say. Talk about booking. Things that fantasy booking. What would you have thought if they had killed Kirk, but they don't resurrect him until the beginning of the next movie? They just leave him dead and just kind of leave it open ended a little bit.
So if we're going back on what they did in Wrath of Khan, that's what they did with Spock in Wrath of Khan. Spock died. They put him in the casket, sent him off to like a desert planet, and you see the casket. You see the casket kind of move, and then the movie's over. So that's what they did in Wrath of Khan, and then Star Trek 3 was the search for Spock. Because
it really is a continuation of that one, essentially.
Correct. Yeah. So that's what they did in the first 3. So I thought that we were going to do that here, but technically with Jim, he's technically human. Spock's got that half and half, so I don't know, if it really would have worked, or they could have had Khan resurrect him, and they're like, oh dang, he's still dead. He didn't come back alive, and then they ship him off in the casket, and then you see the casket lid move. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah. But I like the ending. I like how he didn't completely follow Wrath of Khan.
Right. Well, in the ending, and the funny thing is, the ending, I thought they actually go on their 5-year exploratory mission. I really thought that they did that at the end of the first one. I was like, okay, so this is the start of their 5-year journey, but no, we're gonna wait till which makes sense, honestly. If you really think about it, this is still like a relatively new Enterprise crew with these characters, and so for them to have like 2 universe altering or shattering missions. it makes sense. And then they do their 5-year crew, 5-year mission, which leads into Beyond. So I remember Beyond not being as strong as Into Darkness in the first Star Trek, but we'll see. We'll see how that turns out.
Zach, Craig, we can start with you. Do you have any favorite scenes?
I like the scene when they're jumping from ship to ship and they're kind of going through all the, they have the
debris.
The debris, but their suits have like the compression to be able to maneuver through everything, and then their visor kind of almost Tony Starkish with the course. I thought that was a really cool scene, fun scene. When they get the ship to stabilize, and then Khan's ship is kind of coming down after them. That whole sequence, I guess from that point on, was really just a great kind of 20-30 minute span. So those, and then I like the opening scene.
I would probably have to say the headquarters attack was pretty fun, and the chase scene leading into the final battle. What about you, Zach?
Acting wise, I would say the when Kirk confronts Khan about you need to be grateful that you're not dead, because this is technically I could end you right now. Great acting between Cumberbatch and Pine. The warp scene collision where the Enterprise is going at warp speed and the Vengeance like knocks it out of the warp thing.
Yeah,
I thought was really well. I thought that was a really cool scene, which leads into the space jump. I thought was really good, and then the final battle between Spock and Khan and the foot chase, I thought was really well done. The action in this was really top notch and very tense, which I appreciated. So
yeah, and of course it had that J.J. Abrams style that we all know and love.
Lens flares every 15 seconds.
Lens flares, zooms out from the, it's either zooms in really quick or zooms out. You see everything. Yeah. But he definitely has his own way of putting stuff on screen, and you can definitely tell when it is him.
Well, and the funny thing is just now thinking about it, I think Force Awakens feels J.J. Abrams, but it doesn't feel Star Trek, if that makes sense. Like the aesthetics of the two, they're very different in filmmaking styles. I do appreciate that there wasn't as many lens flares in this movie as in this one as the first one. So
yeah, and to be able to kind of go off from Star Trek, then go into Star Wars around 2015, it's pretty good.
So
star rating, Zach, we'll go with you first.
Man, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. When this ended, I was like, that was awesome. Like going on. Stating up front, I'm not a Trek fan. I acknowledge its place in pop culture history, but I just had a blast with the action, the story, Cumberbatch, all the performances, but especially Cumberbatch. It was just a really, if this was going to be the end of Star Trek and they're not going to make any more, I'd be like, yeah, that's good. We've done it. They go off and do their mission. That's it. I'm good. I'm going to give it a 9. That's just how I felt at the end of the film. I was like, yeah, that was well worth the 2 hours and 15 minutes or whatever. So,
same here. I'll give it a 9. It's one of those movies that's just like flies by. The action scenes are fun. Everything was just top notch, and I really enjoyed it. 9 for me.
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys. It was a blast watching this. The more and more I watched it, the more I was like, man, there's a reason I have these in my Blu-ray collection. They were fun to watch. The cast was amazing. The chemistry was amazing. The Star Trek scores, the song, everything felt big about this movie, and it wasn't done in a cheesy way. It wasn't done over the top. It was. To me, in my opinion, a very updated version of Star Trek. Because, let's be honest, Star Trek going back to the TV show back in the 70s, 60s?
60s, yeah.
It's pretty vanilla. I mean, it's a 60s TV show. There's not much action, not much of anything you could do CGI wise, because obviously there wasn't. Everything was practical. But I felt like this was a very updated version of that, and I think J.J. Abrams really captured Star Trek in a good light. So 9 for me.
Yeah.
Nice. We'll get back to emails next week, guys. Let us know your star rating of this movie. Let us know your top 5 TV shows that deserve a movie send-off. And then next week, we're talking about our top 5 movies starring a WWE guy. So go through, check out some of those movies. Let us know your top 5. But, guys, we can let everybody know what we're going to do next week. M. Night Shyamalan has a new movie that came out this year, and it was Knock at the Cabin, and we will do that next week, August the 16th, and then August the 23rd. Right after that, we'll do 28 Days Later. August the 30th, Zach, finally, Public Enemies.
Finally. Yeah.
I've been asking for this since 2018. Watch your internet go out, and you can't be a part of this episode.
Don't. And then after all this time, I don't even get to talk about it.
September 6th, No Hard Feelings. September 13th, Batman Mask of the Phantasm, 30th anniversary.
Wow.
September 20th, School of Rock. September 27th, we go back onto the Enterprise and talk Star Trek Beyond. And then October the 4th, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003. Another 10-year-old movie this year.
Oh, that is 10 years old this year. Wow.
Yeah.
You said 2003?
Yeah,
20
years old. I'm sorry. Can't do
Oh
math.
my
apparently.
God. 20 years old. That's worse, Craig.
And School of Rock is 20 years old this year, so hitting some anniversaries this year.
So we got some fun episodes, but next week, Knock at the Cabin. Is this going to be a first-time watch for you, Craig?
Knock at the Cabin? No, I watched it, like I said, not too long ago.
Zach, you got to check this out in the theater, so should be a fun conversation next week. Knock at the Cabin. Anything else that you guys want to talk about before you put the final nail in the coffin for Into Darkness?
I think I'm gonna go try it. I'm gonna try and go see The Last Voyage of the Demeter this week. So I'll talk about it next week. So
Nice, that comes in, and he's also going to check out Wrath of Khan. So
yeah, we'll see.
We'll get your opinion on that next week. Other than that, guys, thanks for joining us. New episode next week. Knock at the Cabin next Wednesday, August 16th. New episode right here on the Cine-Men Movie Podcast.
Later.
Bye.